Of what we're going to do here today. A short time ago, you should have all received a press release from the St. Paul Police Department. Within that press release was a link to the body-worn camera video from an officer-involved shooting that occurred this past Monday evening on May 6th. This morning also, the BCA, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, did release the names of our officers that were involved in this incident. There were 3 of them. I've had a lot of questions about pronunciation of names, so I will do that right now so that everybody has it. First officer was Chi Lao. Second officer was Yang Kang Lor. And the last officer was Chi King Shazhong Kuje. Shazhong Kuje. So right now, the Chief Axel Henry will come out and make a statement regarding this incident. Keep in mind that the BCA is handling this investigation and the chief cannot speak to specifics of this case, but he will make some comments. With that, the chief will be in shortly.
Good afternoon and thank you for being here. First and foremost, I want to start off by again expressing our condolences for the Heinold family and their friends. I know that earlier today you received a link on the body camera footage video that we released as well as a press statement. I felt it was important just to come in here and reiterate a few points. First and foremost, we have a community-led process that we believe very heavily in. And we are extremely early on in this investigation, of which we're very thankful to the BCA for leading on our behalf. As the chief of police, as the representative for our department, I have a number of responsibilities during the course of this investigation, even as early on as we are in this. And first and foremost is to make sure that we are cooperating and providing the BCA with all the information they need. Secondly is to provide our community with as many possible answers as I can without impeding on that investigation. And that's what brings us here today with the release of this body camera footage. I want to express my thanks and gratitude to our community members and leaders, countless folks who have reached out to me over the last 4 days to express not only their support for the Heinold family, but also for our officers. These are never easy events. This was not an outcome that anybody wanted, but we are committed to staying true and being patient while the BCA investigates this and making sure that that process goes on unfettered. But again, we are always here to make sure that whenever we can, our piece of this is done in the quickest, fastest way, and that's why we released this body-worn camera footage today. That's all I have.
Does anybody, we'll take a couple questions if we can. Like I said, the chief cannot speak to the facts of the case, but if anybody has any other questions.
Chief Henry, I'll have it very quickly. I was able to watch the 3 angles. Can you speak to a little bit about what the call was for and kind of how the officers approach said call?
Well, this was a call about a suicidal party. There was no mention of weapons or any of those types of things. Officers in our city and in cities all across the country go to thousands of these types of calls every year. I think what's important, I've seen the footage myself, so I'm only going off of the same things you've seen, is this illustrates how important it is that we as both a nation but also as a city really look at how we deal with folks in crisis. It escalated very quickly, and I'm struck by the fact that we went from a situation where I watched the video, seeing an officer leaned over a person, being very empathetic and asking, "How are you okay? How can I help you?" And seeing how quickly things can change. And so it's something we have to really focus on as an entire community, not just the police department, about how we help and support and deal with people that are in crisis.
Chief, can you talk about the trainings? I know that's been a big topic over the last few years. There's been efforts at the legislature to get more training to deal with people in crisis. Can you talk about how that maybe has changed or how you approach those circumstances?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of folks remember that, in the last 10 years, we started hearing about specialty cars that worked in different departments. And so if you were sent to a call that maybe you felt needed a more nuanced approach to it, you would get on the radio and ask for that kind of response or a car that specialized in that. Here in St. Paul, even preceding me, we took the approach that every officer should be trained in those things. And that is the approach that we've taken for the last 6 or 8 years, and so that's been our effort. The state legislature now has basically mandated those types of training for all law enforcement officer in this state, and so that's something we're constantly doing. We just went through an in-service audit this spring. It's something that we continue to work with our community in the mental health world and folks that we're dealing with drug addiction and those types of things, and it's something that I think this situation illustrates always needs focus and attention.
So all 3 of these officers have gone through mental health crisis prevention training?
Absolutely, multiple times.
Given that, are there not any other teams, part of the department, to respond to calls like this? Essentially saying, is it only police officers that would respond to a suicidal call?
Our department has a unit called COAS, which is a Community Outreach and Stabilization Team. They do a lot of work specifically around mental health and chemical addiction work, but they are not set up, we don't have a department that's big enough to be set up to have just dedicated officers only doing this and responding to those 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's why it's so important that all of our employees, in fact, I'm required to go to all those trainings as well, attend those, because we never know. I could be driving home tonight and have to deal with a person in crisis, get out of my squad and deal with it, and it doesn't matter that you're the chief of police. You have to know how to do these core responsibilities, and that's really the good news that's embedded in this, is that this has come, or it's transitioned from being a specialty and a niche thing that some departments chose to have certain people do to be a basic requirement we have in our state for all police officers.
So those coast teams, they're not on standby or in squads moving around or in vehicles moving around ready to respond? Just can you talk us through kind of where those teams are on a daily basis and how they would respond if they're needed?
They are available. They do not work. We do not have coast side employees. I think we have 5 people in our coast unit right now, so there are not 24 hours a day, 7-day-a-week coverage. They are always there to help and support us and to bring in some expertise, but a lot of the times that's happening with the follow-up. So you can imagine if you had a situation where you're dealing with a person that's in crisis and there's a number of things that have been happening that we go out, take initial report, then they're doing the follow-up, that prevention piece. And that's really the key to success here is we want to get farther upstream from the crisis itself, so we're getting the interventions and the support and the help that the people need before we get to a point where something could actually explode.
Was Coast notified during this call?
No, they were not. This was a general 911 call that came out over the radio, and squads that were available went to it.
And was the other woman in the video injured in any way?
Not to my knowledge, but we're not investigating it, so I couldn't speak to that specifically.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much.